Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Mark Farzetta. This right here is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. And yeah, it is lovely to have you along for the ride. Here's the thing. I woke up this morning still frustrated at what went on with the Phillies last night in that loss. Taijuan Walker coming into the game with the bases loaded. How the Phillies have handled Taijuan Walker in general this season. That was frustrating. But I also woke up with a sense of relief. Because Kellen Moore knows how to answer questions. And I find that other people don't. Nick Sirianni. Vic Fangio knows how to answer questions. Nick Sirianni, not so much. Nick Sirianni can't help himself. And I did talk about this yesterday, but it was emphasized by watching other people address the media. Vic Fangio is the best. Oh my God, I love this guy. Now, speaks his mind, little quips maybe to open a press conference, but other than that, he stays dead on. I think I'm going to put together a video. I think I'm going to put together a little piece on just things that Vic Fangio does that reminds me of my dad. I'm going to do that just because I think he might remind everybody of their dad. But other than that, like, he's straight to the point. He gets asked, and I'll let you hear from him what he has to say about Jalen Carter and why Jalen Carter all of a sudden had this incredible game. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. He says, it played great. And then you get Nick Sirianni, who just can't help himself but to answer a question almost with a very firm no, that he's not going to answer it, and then go on to answer it. Like, that's not how you do that. That's not how you do that. And then Kellen Moore yesterday gets asked about play calling. And this is where the sense of relief comes in. This is Kellen Moore's offense. Like, Nick Sirianni has talked many times. Well, let me start with Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore broke it down very easy. I have the whole thing for you. When he talked about play calling, when he was asked about play calling, the follow-up questions, about 2 minutes. I want you to hear it all. And I'm going to play it within the context so you hear how it goes down and all that stuff, so you hear from him how this all works. He could not have handled this situation more perfectly. He handled it perfectly. Nick Sirianni has about as much responsibility with play calling as I would assume, even with the decisions being made by the normal play calling being by Kellen Moore. Nick Sirianni is in and out of these meetings constantly, right? So you mean to tell me, and he has said by his own words that he'll pop into the game plan meeting, put in a little 2 cents, and then he goes somewhere else and he drops in a little 2 cents, or he observes. 2 days ago, he went on and on about how much he loved watching Jeff Stoutland coach the offensive line. And I'm thinking, all right, maybe you can learn a thing or two about coaching, going into that room with Jeff Stoutland. All right, I'm fine with that. But let's make no mistake about this. As much of a concern as it was for me to hear this yesterday.
I don't say a number, but here and there.
Here and there, he's going to call a play. All right. I guess that makes sense, as long as I think it makes the most sense when he gets ahead of it and tells Kellen Moore, by the way, hey, we got this coming up. Let's do this. And then Kellen Moore calls it in. That doesn't shock me. I don't love it. I'm going to go ahead and say I don't even like it. But that's what they're going to do. And as long as he's the head coach of this football team, he is going to do that. Do I ever think Kellen Moore is going to call a play and then Nick Sirianni get on the headset like, how dare you? How dare you call that? That's a stupid-ass play. You better call this play right here. No, I don't think that's ever going to happen. And I think that's where a lot of people are going with this in their mind, is to the worst possible degree. I'd be very happy if he didn't do anything with the offense. As expected, he's making decisions on 4th down, whether or not to go for it, whether or not to kick the field goal, whether or not to tush push or quarterback sneak, as Kellen Moore says. Kellen Moore, he hears tush push and he goes right to quarterback sneak. I find it funny. But anyway, I listened to Nick Sirianni 2 days ago now, and I had concern that he had a lot more involvement in the offense than we were originally led to believe. I listened to Kellen Moore yesterday and went, nope. And one of the things that's really smart that Kellen Moore does, because everyone's looking at this situation here with the Eagles as if it's wildly unique. And I believe they are accurate in saying it's wildly unique. But Kellen Moore saying, yeah, it's not that different than anywhere I've been. Really? You were brought in for a coach that was neutered essentially, of responsibility year after year. The coach had come out and said, I don't think Mike McCarthy was in charge of the offense. I don't think any head coach worth his salt in football is ever saying anyone is in charge of anything. His name's on it. And that's one of the things that's actually disappointing about what Nick Sirianni has been saying recently. Whether it's the throw to Barkley against the Falcons, him saying that was Kellen Moore's play call. What happened to this is my responsibility, I got to do a better job? Like, one of the things I do respect about Andy Reid, as much as we hated it and it drove us crazy here in Philadelphia, is that he was always throwing himself under the bus. Now, that was he scapegoating players? Scapegoating himself for the players? Absolutely. Was it dishonest? 100%. But I do respect the hell out of a man that even though it's not his fault, for the sake of the group, he'll just say it's his fault. And we all knew it was BS. We just needed to hear it from the coach. We just wanted to hear it from the coach confirming that, oh, yeah, maybe Donovan should have hit the guy in the chest instead of, spiked it into the ground 10 feet in front of him, Yeah. But I respect a head coach that does that. I respect anyone that does that. Takes the blame when they don't deserve it. Talking about breeding loyalty from your team. That's a pretty good way to do it. Talking about breeding loyalty from your coaches. That's a pretty good way to do it. And then Nick, the complete about face in the following week. Oh no, that was my play. That was Kellen's play call. Oh no, that was my play call. Oh, the one that failed, that was my play call. So we'll let you hear from Kellen Moore as the show goes on today. We'll let you hear, as I said, from Vic Fangio talking about Jalen Carter and why Jalen Carter had such a great game. His theory, his hypothesis on why Jalen Carter had such a great game. And Pro Football Focus actually really loved the game by Jalen Carter. If you didn't see it, check this out. Jalen Carter was rated the number one interior defender with a 93.5. Now, as I said, I think it was last week, I look at Pro Football Focus and I praise them when they tell us our guys are doing great, and then I hate them when they tell us our guys are doing terrible. But Jalen Carter, top interior defender, not too shabby for his week 3 performance there against the Saints. Also, I'm going to ask this question. This is a serious question. I want participation here. I just don't know how to phrase this to set it up properly, but is there any comparison you can think of with Taijuan Walker? And it's not just the pitch is bad. No, I'm not just saying that. But I mean, any situation where a guy is owed a lot of money, 2 years after this one, a guy is owed a lot of money, $18 million per, and has been injured, has struggled consistently, and they just keep putting him out there. Now, last night it was a bullpen situation. It was more or less a bullpen game. They brought him in as they had the opener, and then they kind of had him as the starter, which is just stupid to me when you had Colby Allard, who's done that before already, whatever. All right. But again, it adds to why this is so stupid. So here's what I mean by this with Taijuan Walker. With Taijuan Walker, you have pushed aside Spencer Turnbull. If you remember, at the beginning of the year, Spencer Turnbull had a great start to the season, a 1.67 ERA, and the Philadelphia Phillies went, Spencer, get to the bullpen. Taijuan, you're going to be in the starting rotation. All right. And then he sucked, and then he got hurt, and then he sucked more, and they shut him down shut him down as they put him in the bullpen again for a little while. And then, or they put him in the bullpen, I should say, not for again, but they put him in the bullpen. And then they had him come out and start a meaningful game against the Mets, to which he had the worst start of his career, career high 4 home runs. And then they decided, hey, we still have first place on the line in the National League. Let's have Taijuan Walker pitch with the bases loaded. I can't think of anyone that the Phillies or any other team has handled in a more stupid manner that has pushed aside. Here's the things that make it unique. They pushed aside good talent. Spencer Turnbull, 1.67 ERA. Get out of here through your first six starts of the season. Get out of here. And then Taijuan Walker starts the season late because of injury, interrupts his season with injury, and still struggles. And they have $18 million over the next 2 years. They have $36 million guaranteed to this guy over the next 2 years. And instead of shutting him down, like I had been calling for a while, and hoping that the offseason could be a reset button, and maybe he starts out next year for you and actually pitches well enough to the point where you can actually trade him, and you'll probably still have to pay, well, you're gonna have to still pay money, but maybe not $18 million worth. Maybe you save yourself some money in that regard, and you trade him, and then Andrew Painter's 100% healthy, and then he starts the rest of the year as your fifth starter. Instead of doing that, which makes the most possible sense, they're like, nope, we're just going to keep rolling him out there. Oh, struggling against the Mets, terrible against the Mets. Hey, why don't you pitch in another game? This one where we're trying to lock up home field advantage. Phillies need the Brewers to lose 2, or they need to win 2. Like I'm pretty confident they could do it, especially with the rotation they got coming up here now. On the year, we'll get into that a little bit later, but yeah, very frustrating to have the high of 2 nights ago and then experience the low of last night. So I'll get into that conversation with you as well. Let's start it off with Kellen Moore, because I know this is a big sticking point for a lot of people, and rightfully so. Here's Kellen Moore when he was asked about the play calling of the Philadelphia Eagles, with Nick Sirianni chiming in as well.
4th and 1. How does that happen?
Oh, I think it's just a collaborative aspect of this thing. I think from an offensive staff perspective, and really from a staff perspective in general, we're constantly talking about all these different scenarios. When can we call a particular play? Short yardage plays, we'll have a number of them, and it's a matter of us teaming up on when's the right time to call a particular one. And so, those are constant conversations. Stout's heavily involved in the run game. Guys in the box, you trust their eyes on certain looks when you're using tempo and you're trying to identify a defensive look. I think it's a big team effort, and obviously, in those situations, obviously we've talked a lot about them. When can we make this decision to go for it? And sometimes Nick's going to be a part of that. Sometimes Stout's going to be a part of that. It's really a collaborative effort.
But if I could follow up though, but like Nick has final say because he's the head coach. Stout doesn't. So the hierarchy is different there. How does it change when you do get the information versus when you get it from Stout or Jason Michaels or whoever else?
I think no different than any place I've ever been. Obviously, we're all teaming up on this thing, and we're trying to get the calls in as fast as possible, and at the same time playing situational football and making decisions at a critical time very quickly. And so we all lean on each other. I think we have an excellent process here. It's been a really fun process just because of how much work we put into it during the week to prepare ourselves for those situations.
Kellen, there's a key moment when it comes to a key moment in a game. Obviously, Sirianni being the head coach, if you have a play, how much do you feel you have to push if you feel the play should go a certain way?
We spent a lot of time during the week talking through every possible scenario. Again, similar like short yards, for example. I mean, you're going to carry a number of plays, and it's just a matter of what's the right time to call that one. And usually we're bouncing ideas off each other throughout the game, not just those situations, but first and second down. I think we have a really fun collaborative group on our offensive staff, and Nick's certainly a part of that heavily. And so what it allows us to do is really team up on all these different situations, talk through the possible outcomes, and make the best decision possible.
Kellen, possibly.
So that's Kellen Moore breaking it all down right there. I know I was muted there for a second, but I caught it that time. A lot to unpack, as they say. Here's what I really don't understand with the whole thing. Why would Nick Sirianni, as a head coach of a football team way back when at the end of last year, why would he ever say that somebody else has complete control or somebody else has control? The offense coordinator control of the offense, defense coordinator control of the defense. Like, obviously, I think we all could agree that it kind of makes sense on the defensive side of things. That's not Nick Sirianni's area of experience. But when it comes to Kellen Moore and it comes to whoever the offensive coordinator was going to be, why would you ever say in charge of? Like, that only sets you up for moments like this. Well, whose fault is it? You've already admitted that it was Kellen Moore's play call that failed because Saquon dropped the ball. So the play actually worked, but he dropped it. So whatever. Why would you blame him? And then immediately after the Saints game, you decide to go for, you tell everyone you went for it on 4th and 1, and that was your decision. That was your call. That was your play call. Why would you? I think most people would understand. Kellen calls the plays, but we all work together on everything. That's not a difficult thing to comprehend. That's actually pretty expected. Like when Nick Sirianni mentioned that he called the play, my eyebrows went up a little bit because up until that point, Kellen calls the plays, including after a play that unfortunately was not executed properly, a head coach saying, yeah, Kellen called that. Okay. I'm not used to hearing people that forthcoming. And I don't know who, either Nick Sirianni was self-aware or somebody had to tell him, Nick, what the hell are you doing? For him to come out with the total complete about face. And then for him to say in the press conference earlier in the week, hey, this is, I'm not going to make a habit out of really explaining everything to you about who calls what play and what went into the play call and how we came up with it or anything like that. Like, oh, you have to establish that now, do you? That's funny. I continue to be baffled by the way this whole thing is handled. By the way Nick Sirianni has handled it, by the way the Eagles have handled it. But I'll say this. I am glad for the result in that Kellen Moore is in charge of calling plays. Kellen Moore is going to call the vast majority of plays. That he is going to call. I would say that Kellen Moore, is calling, I'd say 90 to 95% of the plays. And every once in a while, Nick's chiming in. Now, in terms of play calling, I believe Nick, no matter what, is still deciding whether or not 4th and 1, go for it. 4th and 3, go for it. 60-yard field goal, dial that up. That's the way I believe this is working. I don't understand why that has increased or put some doubt in people's mind when hearing Nick Sirianni talk, but Kellen Moore, I think, has shined a great light on it. This is Kellen Moore's offense. He talks to Jeff Satlin. He talks to Nick Sirianni. Throughout the week, I'm sure they're having a conversation. It might not be Nick Sirianni in that game plan meeting for its entirety, with him popping out and going to different meetings and talking to other people and all that stuff, or even like last week going into the locker room because he's got a question for a couple of players, a very specific question. By the way, in all my years of going into the locker room, I've never seen the head coach in there. Never. Nick said he also goes in there to get a haircut. There's a barber in there. Okay, fine. But he addressed it he said it's the player's space. I don't want to go in there and violate their space. That's their time to be teammates without any real authority in that room. So listening to that explanation and everything else, I found that Kellen Moore was very enlightening and, quite frankly, a relief to listen to. Because what he painted was a picture that exists, I'm sure, in the vast majority of teams throughout the NFL. As Kellen Moore had said when he was in Dallas, when he was in San Diego, it's not unlike anywhere else he's been. I would disagree with that part of it, but it's the smart play by him. To simply say, like, what was Kellen Moore going to do? Come out and say yesterday, Nick doesn't call plays. How dare he say that? Even if it's once in a while. Like, no, he's not going to come out and say that. That'd be stupid. But it is truly an enigma, the way this whole thing has been worked, with this stripping of power from Nick Sirianni, either by his own volition or being told to still be here as the head coach. Could have saved himself a lot of trouble with the word, collaborative. Well, as the head coach, my name's on everything. So if I don't feel like something's going in the right direction, I got to step in. Something like that, like something somewhat of an alpha would have said, if there's such thing as a respectful alpha. Like that. That's the way he should have approached it. And now it just leads us to go, well, who called that play? Who called this play? Oh, that play sucks, so it must have been Nick's. You know what I mean? That decision was awful. It must have been Nick's. Oh, that play's worked to perfection. Kellen Moore's a genius. All in all, it's not going to matter if your offense scores points. And they, unfortunately, didn't do a great job of doing that against the Saints. They did a good enough job of doing that against the Saints, and they had some huge plays throughout the game to be able to get the win. And mostly you won that game, of course, as we all know, from the defense's effort in that game. They were fantastic. Also, Jalen Carter being fantastic in that game. So hopefully all this just gets pushed aside. And we're not going to care who's calling the plays because the offense is working. Let's get to that point. Because I really don't want to go through a full season of who called this, who called that, whose idea was that. That was stupid. That was great. I don't want to go through that season. I just want to see Jalen Hurts not turn the football over. I want to see Jalen Hurts throw touchdown passes. I want to see Saquon Barkley run for 1,300 yards. That'd be nice. Maybe 14, maybe 1,500, maybe 2,000, maybe 2. Let's go crazy. Dallas Goedert make a Pro Bowl. I want to see guys get healthy. And ultimately, that's what matters and not who's calling the plays and when they're calling the plays. That's what I'd like to see. Speaking of the turnover, Kellen Moore basically, without saying it, put it on Devontae Smith. The turnover, the interception in the red zone that was picked off by Tyrann Mathieu. Basically, what he said was Devontae Smith was supposed to cut in front of the safety there and make the play. He didn't do it. That's the way the play is designed to work. And he said it didn't happen, which means Devontae, they expected Devontae to continue that route in front of the safety's face, and he didn't. Maybe A.J. Brown makes that play. I think A.J. Brown makes that play. Devontae Smith, does he make that play? Well, he didn't make the play. Simple as that. But what the play was designed to do, it didn't do. So another turnover for Jalen Hurts. Ball security is something they're always going to preach, as one would assume. So you got that going for you. On the other side of things, for those just joining us, once again, Jalen Carter having himself a hell of a game there against the Saints. Pro Football Focus in Week 3 named him the #1 interior defender. Good hustle to him. Here is Vic Fangio talking about Jalen Carter and why he had so much success versus the first 2 weeks to Week 3. What was the jump? Why was the jump?
Against the Saints.
Yeah. He obviously, this past game was his best game by far. And hopefully that will set the trend moving forward. I don't know what actually triggered it other than, we as a D-line unit didn't play good in the previous game. So I'm sure that had something to do with it.
With a player like that who is so talented, what's the key to making sure that he's consistent with it?
Just keeping him on point on a day-in, day-out basis, not just game day, but practice also. Because, the way you practice usually is the way you'll play.
What goes into
First thing that jumped to mind was have that cell phone plugged in, Jalen Carter, so your alarm goes off and you're not late to a team meeting and then getting docked a start. You know what I mean? It's got to be difficult when you have somebody that is extremely talented, somebody that can go out there and absolutely dominate, and you just have to keep them on this path. Like, stay focused. And they're like, squirrel. No, stay focused. Cell phone's unplugged. Focus, Jalen Carter. It's got to be extremely frustrating for a coach that knows you have that much talent, but needs to keep him on the straight and narrow, need to keep him focused. Because look what he did when he was focused. I don't know if it was all the doubters. I don't know if it was him just being upset with himself. I mean, look, he said exactly what fans said, which was that he's trash. I remember Brandon Graham many, many years ago talking about his own unfortunate start to his career. Right now, I'm a bust. Flat out said that. Right now, I'm a bust. I got to make the most of this. I got to turn it around. I'm the only one that can do it, so I'm going to do it. Took responsibility, and then he's gone on to have the career that he's had. Jalen Carter might have had to have that same type of moment instead of maybe year 2 or 3 it happening like it did for Brandon Graham, I think in year 3. Look at Jalen Carter, and he looked in the mirror and said, okay, that good start to my career last year. Then I fell off towards the end of the season. Now I can't start off this season on the bad end of things. I got to start out this season like I'm the guy that's coming to save this defensive line. And him and Jordan Davis stepped up and played very good games. Jalen Carter, a great game. Jordan Davis, a good game. A couple of things that stuck out to me from this Saints game was the first drive of the game for the New Orleans Saints. The opening drive. They were cooking, man. They were moving the ball downfield, and you needed somebody to step up and make a play. And it is so impressive to me when you get a guy on the defensive line, interior in particular, that wins that one-on-one battle and then is able to do something to help the team get a stop. And what really stuck out to me is the obvious batted ball. He gets his arms up in the air, gets enough space, gets freed enough to be able to get both hands up in the air and deflect that pass. Breaks it up on 3rd and long. They had already converted 2 other 3rd and longs on that drive. And Jalen Carter said what he's supposed to say, which is the buck stops here. And he makes the stop. Later in the game, you see him fighting through double teams to get pressure, plugging up the defensive line. One of the things Vic Fangio talked about as to why the tackling was better in this particular game was because the running backs, Alvin Kamara, for instance, didn't have that free lane to get through the defensive line into the secondary. The linebackers stepped up and made their plays. So that guys like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or guys like Reed Blankenship didn't have that big opportunity to blow a tackle in the open field. It was tough to get through the line of scrimmage. That made things easier on everybody. That's why every single Eagles fan knows that this team will always build through the trenches because that's where it starts. And if that struggles, oh man, is the rest of the job that much more difficult for everybody else. Offensive line gets blown up, quarterback scrambling for his life. Defensive line gets blown up, linebackers in secondary, they have no idea how to make a tackle. It's amazing how that works. Jalen Carter can be the linchpin to it all. Because one of the biggest gaps you're looking to make up for last year to this year, we talked about Cam Jurgens and Jason Kelce. How big a gap? I don't think it's that big a gap in terms of skill, in terms of experience. Obviously, that's a huge gap. But the biggest gap on this team from drop off might be from last year to this year, what you had on the defensive line to what you have now on the defensive line. Without Fletcher Cox, who was going to be that next guy that you could constantly rely on? Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, both those guys. Milton Williams making a play in this game. Thomas Booker IV continuing to make plays 2 straight games now. This is a great sign. I was so worried about the defensive line because I thought that was the biggest drop-off of talent. You didn't have that other guy to really lean on, that veteran presence to really lean on. And this defensive line stepped up and played the way they did against the Saints, against Alvin. That's pretty spectacular. I'll take that every day. So seeing that all unfold based on how the way Jalen Carter was playing, and I know Jordan Davis got the sack. He got the big, sexy number. That's cool. But watching Jalen Carter dominate from start to finish, that's a sight for sore eyes. I know a lot of people were waiting for that game. And this is hopefully – talk about keeping the standard, the main thing, playing to the standard and all that stuff. Hopefully this is the new standard for Jalen Carter as the guy that is coming here to save the defense. Would love to see that. A couple other notes from yesterday's press conference with Vic Fangio. He himself wondered why there was 2 Monday night games. So at least someone in the league thinks like we do. Reed Blankenship icing 2 games with interceptions late. He talked about Reed Blankenship's hands like he was talking about a wide receiver. Just having good instincts and then also being able to go out there and actually corral the football and get 2 picks now in the first 3 weeks of the season. Love that. And then a lot of it was about just what changed in general with the defense. It's just like guys did their job, basically. It's a lot easier when guys do their job. So Vic Fangio, his words per effect or words per impactful statement, that ratio, whatever that is, he's fantastic at that. Absolutely fantastic. What else do I? Is this it? Talked about Milton Williams playing at end. Brandon Graham, this is the second time he said this. Brandon Graham, 36 years old. He just told him, look, you're not getting your flowers yet. You're not getting that nice retirement Rolex watch yet. Like, you're here, you're going to play. And that certainly has been ringing true this is for the first 3 games of this season. Bryce Huff. Yep, not a lot there. But he continued to work. This is a $53 million player. And since Vic Fangio has gotten here, he's continued to talk about him like an undrafted free agent. It's amazing. Oh, we're continuing to work with him. Oh, yeah? The less snaps and everything? Yeah, well, we're continuing to work with him. Okay, thank you for talking. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's enthusiasm, how they got to kind of corral that from time to time. This was interesting. So Darius Slay got hurt late in the game. They brought in Keely Ringo to come out and play corner. I think it was Jeff McClain of the Inquirer asked the question, Isaiah Rodgers in that instance, why would you have Keely Ringo come? And he said, is Keely Ringo just more familiar with that side of the field? And Vic Fangio said, no, if it happened earlier, it probably would have been Rodgers. But being that it was at that point in the game, and this was what was interesting, he felt Keely Ringo was just ready to go at that time. At that point in the game, he thought Keely Ringo was just where we were on the sideline. Keely Ringo was just ready to go. And like my mind automatically went to, so wait a minute, was he just standing near you? Well, no, because Vic Fangio's up in the booth. Was he standing near Clint Hurt? Like what was going on there? Hey, you get in there. Oh, Keely, yeah, go ahead. Okay, whatever. But that's what went through my mind when I heard Vic Fangio say that yesterday. So that's what went down with the Birds yesterday. Good times. All getting ready for the Saints, or should we get ready for the Bucks? Kellen Moore talked about how he has watched Todd Bowles over the years, and he watched last year's playoff game to see what Todd Bowles was doing to Jalen Hurts. And one of the things I thought was really interesting from a different perspective that hasn't been here, who hasn't been here in Kellen Moore, he talked about how in his time in Dallas, his time even in San Diego, whenever people talk about Todd Bowles, the thing they talk about within the league is that, like, yeah, there's going to be pressure, but you don't know how it's coming. One of the things he does so well is he changes his disguises, so you don't know what's what. Hopefully the Eagles will have the same success in the regular season this year as they did in the regular season last year, going down there and beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I would love to see that. The Bucs game, I believe last year, that just came to me, of the 2 wins, I know I've made a big deal of this, of the 2 wins you had last year, I'm pretty sure the Bucs game was one of the 2 wins you had of over 10 points. So, you know, it'd be nice if the Eagles did that again, where there's like a nice, big, fat, comfortable lead, and the Eagles go out there and are down there to Tampa, and they win the game by more than 10 points. And then you can relax and stuff a little bit. Yeah, they won by 14 points, 2 touchdowns. That's their biggest blowout of the season last year. Do that again, please, and thank you. Would love to see it. Let me talk to you guys about your Philadelphia Phillies. I haven't checked the chat yet, but is there any player that Taijuan Walker reminds you of? And I mean the whole gambit. Where they signed him to big money, okay? He's been hurt twice. He's been terrible all the time. And this is what's so telling. When the Eagles address the media, and I tell you guys, some people are like, well, who cares what they say? Well, I do, because it's a window into their mindset. Even if they're saying things you don't believe, you're like, nah, on that one right there, that's weird, you know? So I look at it like this with Taijuan Walker in his post-game interviews. You've heard him talk about, after the Mets game, for instance, that he felt good. You felt good before that? That's the most horrifying thing I've heard with the Taijuan Walker situation, because he didn't have any ailments. He came in there, he was throwing, he was feeling good. This is beyond my recognition, but I heard Ricky Bo say on the post-game show, like last night in particular, if he was trying to throw a curveball, he was throwing it standing straight up. And one of the things they tell you is try to get over top of it. Like bend over a little bit as you're throwing that ball. So apparently he wasn't doing that either. But throughout the year, the Phillies have just completely botched this situation. They made a decision based 100% on money and not to win. And they go out there and they take Spencer Turnbull out of the rotation through 6 games, again, a 1.67 ERA. They bring in Taijuan Walker. He's god-awful. In his first start of the season, 6 runs across the plate on him. In June, he posts a 5.75 ERA. He misses all of July. He comes back in August for a 9.17 ERA. Sucks against, was the Royals? And Rob Thompson's like, I liked his velocity. Now, at the time, we were all like, all right, he never starts again, right? He never pitches for the Phillies again. Like, we're done with Taijuan Walker. And Rob Thompson's in the dugout. Well, did you see his velocity? He had good velo. It was good velocity. And then he gets shelled again. And then he goes to the bullpen. They brushed the dirt off him 2.5 weeks into the month of September in a meaningful game against the Mets on the road, and he rewards the Phillies with his worst start, like ever. I mentioned before, career high in home runs with 4. He was terrible. 8 runs, 6 hits. See you later. He sits down. And then the Phillies clinch the division. And then the Phillies have a bullpen game last night with Tanner Banks on the mound. I don't understand how this was supposed to work, but they were just going to get as many innings as they could from Tanner Banks. Is that the goal? Because I thought the better strategy would be a strategy you've used before, which is, all right, fine. You want to use an opener? Use an opener. Tanner Banks pitched the first inning. He pitched the first inning, scoreless inning. Tanner Banks comes out for the second inning. I'm like, huh? What? Oh, okay. All right, I guess we're doing this. Fine. He allows the bases to get loaded. He loads the bases. And in that moment, Rob Thompson thought, oh, the bases are loaded? I have an idea. Bases loaded, 1 out? I know what to do. Let's go to the bullpen and bring in Taijuan Walker. That'll be fun. Tanner Banks is probably like, all these guys that I let on base are going to score now, right? Like, can I just let him score? So it's at least my fault? No? Okay, I'm going to leave. He leaves. Taijuan Walker comes in. He immediately walks 2 runs in and allows 6 runs to score in the inning in total. 3 of them charged to Tanner Banks, 3 of them charged to him. Now, here's what's crazy about it, okay? He allows 6 runs to score. Not all charged to him, to stress that. Not all charged, but he allows 6 runs to score. Bryce Harper hit a first-inning home run. The Phillies were winning 1-0, believe it or not, last night. Then in the bottom of the second inning, when the Phillies are trying to start some kind of comeback. Actually, no, it starts in that inning that Taijuan Walker, when he came in, Edmundo Sosa, if you remember, made a phenomenal diving stop behind the second base bag. Really laid out for it. Ended up not being a big deal because, again, it would have saved a run or maybe 2, but instead it saved nothing because Taijuan Walker still allowed those runs to score later. So thanks for the effort there, Edmundo Sosa. So Harper hits a homer. Edmundo Sosa makes that great diving stop. Nick Castellanos hustles his ass off to tag on a fly ball to left field from second to third. Garrett Stubbs lays out a beautiful bunt that scores Nick Castellanos, and it scored an infield bunt single in which he dove to avoid the tag. Only time you dive into first base, kids. Dive to avoid the tag, dove to avoid the tag, and touch first base for the infield RBI single. The Phillies did all that to try to win this game. Guys are maybe hungover as hell, doing all that in the game. And Rob Thompson's like, you know what we need here? We need another inning of Taijuan Walker. Now, Taijuan Walker didn't allow a run the rest of the way. For the inning and 2/3, I think he pitched last night. Whatever it was. He did not allow another one. Inning and 2/3, yeah. But still, is that the right message you want to send to a team that's trying to clinch home field advantage in the playoffs? I don't think so. But yet, there we were. Kyle Schwarber hit his 38th home run of the season. Like, it comes to the point now where I'm just rooting for stats, and I hate getting to this point. Like, if the Phillies are just going to mail it in for the rest of the season, which I don't think they will. Like, for instance, look at this. Here's the final pitching matchups for the season. Sanchez goes tonight, 6 o'clock. By the way, 6:05 start time, earlier start time. Also, while talking about tonight, let me just give myself a plug. I'm going to be on the Fantastic Sports Show on Fox 29 tonight, so don't miss that, 11:30. Christopher Sanchez goes at 6:05 tonight against the Cubs. Then the Phillies have an off day Thursday. Yay, an off day. Then they got 3 with the Nationals to clean up or to finish up the rest of their season. Suarez, Wheeler, Nola set to go in those games. So that's the way that's going down. But the Phillies are just going to mail it in. Here's what I'm hoping for, at least. Kyle Schwarber's at 38 home runs. I'd love to see him get to 40 again. Alec Boehm get to 100 RBIs. He's at 95 right now. Would love to see him get to 100 RBIs. Trey Turner, 19 home runs in the season. I'd love to see him get one more. Get to 20. Round it out all nice. Also, Trey Turner hitting 300 again. That'd be nice, too. It's been a minute since he hit over 300 for one team in a single season. 294 is where he's at right now. I wanted Harper to get his 30th, and he got that one last night. Phillies need to root for the Brewers to be terrible at baseball. That's what's needed right now. And they need the Dodgers to continue to lose. And if you didn't see how the Dodgers game ended last night in Los Angeles, oh, baby, it's a fun one. Is it a fun one? Triple play is how that one ended last night. Triple play. With Shohei Ohtani on deck in a 2-run game, you ended it with a triple play. It's a beautiful thing. So the Phillies remain a half game behind the Dodgers for the best record in the National League. How much fun is that? Was it a game and a half last night? Yeah, half game. Padres 2 games. Excuse me, a game and a half behind the Phils. So keep on winning. The Braves took care of business against the Mets. So that's cool too. As of right now, the wild card goes Padres 4.5 games up into that spot. The Mets are just a half game above the Diamondbacks, and the Braves are a half game behind the Diamondbacks. It really is amazing that the Braves are right there considering the injuries. They got bad news about Austin Riley yesterday too. But the Diamondbacks right now, I would love to see the Diamondbacks get bounced out. Please bounce out the Diamondbacks. I do not want to see them in the postseason. So the Brewers are rooting to lose too. The Brewers got this series with the Pirates. They got 2 more left against the Pirates. And then the Brewers after that have 3 against the Mets. And they host the Mets for that. That's the way their season ends. So the Brewers got the Mets. And the Dodgers, they got this series coming up here against they got 2 more games against the Padres and then 3 against the Colorado Rockies while the Phillies go to Washington to take on the Nationals. That's the way that one breaks down. Christopher Sanchez pitched a great game tonight, and Kyle Schwarber hit 2 home runs. Trey Turner hit a home run, and Alec Boehm driving 5 runs. And we can all just say that's it. Then we're good. And then just got to win one more game. One more game. The question did come up during the postcast last night about whether or not the Phillies are even going to try to win these last couple of games. I just addressed what would happen if they're mailing it in, what I'm rooting for. I don't think they're going to mail it in. And I do think you're going to see these starters start. Maybe Nola doesn't go in the last game of the season if you do have things locked up, but I doubt it. Maybe the Phillies win tonight. Maybe they win Friday, and then you don't see Wheeler and Nola. But as of right now, I think you're going to see the whole slate. Good times. Before I get into the chat check, let me tell you guys about the amazing people at the Game Time app. Tonight, 6:05 is the Phillies' final home regular season game of the year. You want to go to the game? Download the Game Time app to your phone. Create an account. Use promo code Farzy and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. That's Farzy. Promo code Farzy on the Game Time app. Want to go to the game? Want to go to the concert? Want to go to the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. And how about this? Instead of going through thousands of tickets, just use the Game Time Picks feature, and that allows you to see the best seats at the best prices available on the Game Time app. Get rid of the fluff right there with the Game Time app. Also, they have the guaranteed lowest price. That's the guarantee. The Game Time guarantee, as a matter of fact. What that does for you is if you find tickets in the same section, same row, for less money elsewhere, the Game Time app will refund your account 110% of the difference. That's the Game Time guarantee. And one of my favorite things, if you want to see a great headliner, if you're going to a concert or a comedy show, you don't really care about that particular night, catching the middle or the opening act, whatever it might be, this is what you do. You can buy tickets an hour after the event starts for mega huge Kajunga savings on the Game Time app. So download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. Before I get to the chat check, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the Farzy Show and hit that notifications button. Well, the show fluidly starts between 6 and 6:30, but hit that notifications button. Do yourself a favor. Also, hit like and subscribe on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Hit like and subscribe on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel as well for all your pre- and post-game Eagles needs. And also like and subscribe to the all-new Philadelphia, Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel as well. Yours truly has you covered when it comes to your Phillies and 76ers postcasts, instant reaction to every game, while Jason Bertitas and Harry Mays have you covered for Locked On Sports Eagles postcast. So make sure you guys catch that as well. Let's get into the chat check. Once again, PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's phlsportsnation.com. Let's get into the chat check. IBH, hello. Good morning. Eagles fan, good morning. Go Birds, go Birds. Ken Saad, hello. Phils are really looking good by their play. This is sarcasm. This kind of play means first round loss. See you guys next year. It was fun. I want my team to play the best at the end of the year. I don't even know what they are right now in September. What are they? What are the Phillies in September? I'll get that for you guys. But they are now they're a 500 team. The Phillies are since the All-Star break. 31-31 since the All-Star break. Does that inspire confidence? Nope. It does not. And I believe now they're 13-9 in the month of September. If Baseball Reference is updated already. It usually takes them a minute. So obviously that's not great. I would love to see them win tonight and then sweep the Nationals, and at least they're going in on the right foot. Now, sweeping the Nationals doesn't really tell you much, but it just lets me know that the team itself is working all right. I heard a great conspiracy theory, though, last night during the postcast about starting Walker. And it's like the conspiracy theory was basically, or not starting Walker, but using Walker. Like the conspiracy theory is, hey, let's get Taijuan Walker out there so that he definitely blows this and makes it more difficult for us to clinch that first round bye, because we're better when we just keep playing. This particular season, I think it would be a better idea if the Phillies took some time off. Sean Kilrain, hello. Sean Gillespie, what's popping? A real good coach knows how to take responsibility consistently and not what analytics tells you. Fair. April. Morning, April. When coaching for over 23 years, everyone was watching the game. One coach watching one side of the line to center to the tight end. We always communicate what was good or bad if a spot was weak. Okay. All right. Fair enough. April. Oh, good. I'm here in time to hear about how much Walker sucks. April, good work. Sean Kilrain, thank you, Padres, for game-ready triple play. Hell yeah. Taijuan Walker is great for, this is Ken Sott again. Taijuan Walker is great for a college team, but for Phillies, he sucks. Starting him is like knowing you're going to lose, so put a fork in your eye. Same thing. Losers. Sean Kilrain. Couldn't agree with, what the hell? Couldn't agree with John Kruk. Excuse me. Expresses his disapproval of the Phillies' fifth pitcher in the rotation starting the game, then relying on the bullpen to go the rest of the way. I just don't know what was so difficult about this. If you want Tanner Banks, excuse me, to open the game, then by all means, have him open the game, but then go to Kobe Allard. Like, why is this difficult? Look, obviously, $18 million makes a big difference. $36 million, actually. Between Tyler Phillips, you've really struggled, you're done. Kobe Allard, you struggled that one time, you're done. Taijuan Walker, you struggled always. Keep coming back. Doesn't make any damn sense. Jeffrey Todd, what a end to the Dodgers game last night. Bottom nine, tying runs on base. No outs. Padres turned triple play to end the game. Yes, with Shohei Ohtani on deck. That's the part that really got me. I think it was Rojas that grounded in that triple play. Ken, hello again. We always use collaboration on calls. If they have a weakness, we hit it with motion, unbalanced, stack running backs, use a wing. So I don't have a problem with collaboration. I don't have a problem with collaboration either, as long as the play calling itself, the decision making when it comes to what play is being called, is Kellen Moore. Collaboration is good except when you collaborate and the call you come up with sucks. Then we don't collaborate with you anymore. Fair enough. That's the way I like it, Ken. Are you free to coach the Eagles? Can you help out in that situation? Maybe a quality control coach? Offensive quality control coach? Ink Train. Hello. Good morning. Sean Gillespie. Taking coffee orders in the locker room. That's funny. Sean Gillespie. Both Jalen's need to stay focused. Tate Jeffries. We saw it in the second inning. Should have stuck to being opener. Yeah, I agree. Buddy Christ. Hello. Good morning. Bless the chat and the Farsi fam. Thank you, Buddy Christ. Ink Train. Jalen needs stability at the offensive coordinator position. If Kellen is dress rehearsing for next year as a head coach, I'll take it mainly because he actually has an offensive run, unlike Sirianni, but to have another offensive coordinator. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any, but I still think the Eagles are going to go on and have a really good year. I think Jalen Hurts is going to correct the turnover mistakes. I know you call it blind optimism, whatever, but I feel like that's something he is going to correct. With all that coming in, Kellen Moore is going to be a head coach next year. Maybe he takes over for Doug Peterson in Jacksonville. But that's the way I see that happening. And that's unfortunate because then you're in the vicious cycle again. Then maybe the Eagles hire Bill Belichick and Nick Sirianni becomes your offensive coordinator. Wouldn't that be weird? Has that ever happened? You're the head coach. Now just call the plays. Here's the new head coach. That'd be interesting. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Once again, Phillies back at it tonight, 6:05 start time. Christopher Sanchez will be on the bump for the Phils tonight. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Back with you guys tonight following the Phillies game on Locked On Sports Philadelphia. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys. And I'll be there with your Phillies postcast. And then, guess what? Lucky you, bonus me. Fantastic sports show on Fox 29 tonight, 11:30. Look forward to doing that as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. I'll be back with you guys tonight on Locked On Phillies postcast and back with you guys tomorrow for Farsi Show. See you then. Bye.